Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special edition of HR mentoring session. All right, today I'll be speaking to a topic called transitioning into human resource career. Now, from time to time, either on a personal note or via WhatsApp or other platforms, people always reach out to me, and of course, some of other colleagues of mine, mentors in this HR space. And you hear, oh, Oluyemi, I've been trying to enter into the HR space, either as a fresher, as a young graduate, or either as an experienced professional that has been operating in other sectors or in other spaces. I decided today to put together some thoughts and share with people, and also will upload it on YouTube so that at people's convenience, they can go there and check. I'll appreciate in the course of this session, if you have any question, you can drop the questions in the comment box, in the chat box, and at some point, we will also open the floor for direct questions and answer. For today, our focus will be strictly on transitioning into human resource career. And so only questions directly related to this topic will be attended to. All right. So please, if you also like to share your experience, either how you were able to transition at one point or the other, if you indicate towards the tail end of the program, I will allow you share your thoughts and share your insights with members here and with people who will be watching much later. All right. So we'll just go right into this session. Human resources is a very interesting field. I hear people say things like, oh, I like people. Of course, if you don't like people, you shouldn't aspire to work with people. All right. But let me say generally that there are also many other things you can do when you like people. You could be a psychiatrist, you could be a doctor, you could be a nurse. Okay. So that may not just be an entry requirement. If you hate people, of course, you are definitely not going to fit in. Let me just put out one or two disclaimers, okay? At the end of this course, participants should be able to understand their career goals and get clarity as to why they want to change to human resources or pursue a career in human resources. It also, I hope to help you to know the steps you need to take to transition into HR and the necessary things you need to do. All right. All right. So thank you so much. I've spoken about the expected and learning outcomes. Okay, so this is actually the disclaimer. All inferences made through articles and images are solely for knowledge sharing purpose without any commercial intentions. Okay, and credence of all intellectual property used in this presentation belong to the rightful owner. So, who is an HR professional? Maybe we should start from there. Okay, an HR professional is someone who is responsible for maintaining and managing an organization's human capital. Now, there's an entire value chain that starts from attraction, recruitment, and ends in exit or separation. Now, there is a gamut of functionalities or domain areas in between. Some of them include onboarding, performance and management, okay, disciplinary management, compensation and benefit, training and development, okay, welfare, health and safety, and so on and so forth. All right, so HR people typically handle the overall hiring process, including recruitment, interviews, and onboarding. They also offer conflict resolution services to members of the organization, either between management and staff or between staff, and so on and so forth. Okay, they ensure that activities like payroll, okay, are also coordinated and well managed. Okay, let me quickly say that there are several competencies required to excel as an HR professional. But I'll just highlight a few of them, okay? So what I'm sharing with you is not an exhaustive list. For example, according to Society for Human Resource Management, in their competency model, they identify skills like communication, relationship management, ethical practice, HR expertise, in other words, core domain knowledge, business acumen, critical evaluation, global and cultural effectiveness, leadership and negotiation, and then consultation. Why am I exposing this? One thing I would like to quickly say here is that whether you are joining HR as a fresher, straight from school or without any work experience, or you are joining HR as a professional that has established himself or herself in another line, I don't want you to come into HR like you have zero knowledge. You can see now, for example, communication. Almost any career line or almost any education you might have acquired should have hopefully improved and prepped your communication capabilities. So I don't want you to approach HR and say, oh, I don't know anything or I don't have any skills, because that in itself is a faulty assumption. And when you come from zero, you will feel like you are inadequate. You will not be confident, and you need confidence to ace interviews. You need confidence to be able to engage with stakeholders who may be able to help you. Still looking at HR professionals, the skills and competencies, these are functional areas. Okay, for example, you have strategy. This may be at a more senior level, but it is important whether you're at entry level or somebody just transiting. It's good you know from the onset. Okay, you have strategy, business and HR strategy. HR doesn't exist for itself. HR exists for the business. HR strategy is to drive business strategy. Okay, now we have workplace, HR in global context, diversity and inclusion, risk management, CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, employment law and regulation. So for example, you must be conversant with the labor law of the country you hope to practice. The organization itself, the structure of the HR function, organizational effectiveness and development, okay, workforce management, employee relations, all right, then tech and data, then the people. In the area of the people, we have talent acquisition and retention, which is the recruitment aspect, the attraction aspect, and is wanting to bring people into the organization, is another thing to keep them engaged and productive. Then employee engagement. People must not only be in the organization, people must not only have the skills, competence, and capability to work, people must be motivated to work. And that's one of the differences between human capital and other types of capital. Finance, equipment, and machinery, they don't have emotions. Human beings have emotions. They can be good and not be willing. You need them to be capable, competent, but also you need them to be willing. And employee engagement helps to prep them to be willing, helps to position them to be willing, helps employees to discharge their efforts and even go the extra mile, what we call discretionary energy. We also have the learning and development, and then total rewards. Total rewards speaks to salaries, compensation, and benefits, and so on. Why am I trying to show all this? You know, some people will say, oh, I want to be an HR generalist. In other words, I want to know everything. This is a snapshot or an overview of everything. Some people will say, oh, I want to be a specialist. So for example, it could be a talent acquisition and retention specialist. You could be an employee engagement specialist. You can be an L&D, learning and development specialist, or total rewards, that is compensation and benefit specialist. But let me say this quickly. Even if you want to be a generalist, at least you must know one or two in total. Okay. Then whether you are going to be a specialist or you are going to be a generalist, you need to have certain foundational knowledge. Now, when you are prospecting for HR jobs. There are two ways the jobs will come. One, some will come in a generalist form. For example, HR officer, okay, HR supervisor. That's a generalist form. When you approach that kind of opportunity, your CV and your approach to the interview must be robust end-to-end knowledge. But you may also see vacancies that will come as learning and development specialist or compensation and benefits specialist. Now, if you are submitting your CV for that kind of specialized role, there is a way your CV should be formatted. There are certain information your CV should capture that will portray you as a specialist. This is what? Very, very important. Just a minute. I will need to stop sharing and start sharing. Benga, whatever you are doing, please stop. Please, nobody should write on the screen. It's distracting. All right. Okay. So again, whatever you want to do, whether you are focusing on a specialist opportunity or a generalist opportunity, if I see your CV for a generalist opportunity, does it look robust? When I'm looking at your skills and competence, does it reflect? Does it mirror a generalist capability? If I'm also looking at a specialist opportunity, for example, Compound or L&D, I don't expect to just see a one-liner on learning and development. It will not reflect in-depth competence and capability. I hope you are following me. All right. So it is important you have an idea of these domain areas and understand how to structure your CV, how to prepare for interviews, how to anticipate questions that can emerge in these interviews and respond appropriately. Now let's transition to the different aspects of human resource management. Already we've been talking about some of them. You have workforce planning and employment, which sometimes we call recruitment. Okay, this is implementing the organization's recruiting strategy, assessing the correct workforce planning to meet future staffing needs. Okay, so in other words, you do things like gap analysis. You look at the strategy of the organization. You look at the short, medium, and long-term plan of the organization. What kind of skill set? What skill set do we have today? Are we at par? Is there a gap? What kind of resourcing technique should we put in place? What quality, caliber of employees would we require? Entry level, senior level, experienced? All these planning activities are part of workforce planning and employment. And anybody, for example, who is interested in recruitment should have some level of insight into this area. So it's not just about hiring and firing. There are insights you need to explore, you need to study. Okay, then we have training and development, which is what? Conducting training sessions, administering on-the-job training programs, evaluating training programs, interfacing and managing external training providers, and so on and so forth. Of course, there's also planning in this training plan. Most organizations at about now are already planning for next year. They're already talking to vendors, reaching out to third parties to say, oh, send your open training calendar for next year. So if you want to pitch your tent for training and development, you also need to be conversant with some of these areas. Then compensation and benefits, total rewards. Some of the activities involved include performing job analysis, preparing job descriptions, performing job evaluations, conducting and analyzing compensation surveys, and so on and so forth. Again, I'm just giving you snippets of these key areas. Now, let me quickly mention this. To a large extent, we have many people from the humanities who come into HR. Some of them, not all of them, some of them don't like mathematics. Comp and Ben is slightly highly mathematical. Either you have some bias towards mathematics or accounting. Now, this is one area many HR people shy away from, but there's really nothing special about it. Some of the best compound people I know today, I have a friend, is one of the co-founders of HR Mentorship, pioneering members. Aderele Amosu. He read English in the university, and today is a compound-based specialist. So there's no rocket science to it. But again, if your affinity is not towards mathematics, then you don't want to go and pitch your tent into compound bay, especially early in your career, because you don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to shoot. I apologize for that break in transmission. We'll just continue where we left it. Just give me a few more seconds to recalibrate. Okay, I hope we are getting value so far from this session. Fantastic. All right. So employee and labor relations. Okay, so designing, implementing, and overseeing, for example, performance management, engaging in conflict resolution. All right. If you have union, you meet frequently with the union, engage with them, share with them, activities, proposed plans and actions, get their counsel and their advice. Of course, relating with employees themselves, town hall meetings, all those things like employee survey, okay, feedback, grievance management, and so on and so forth. Okay, I also mentioned that you could have an HR generalist. So for example, most businesses that are small, like SMEs, or that are just starting up, sometimes a lot of them start with HR generalists, especially if all you will have is the luxury of one HR professional. You will need somebody that has a good understanding of all the critical areas. Of course, where necessary, they may now be consulting with other subject matter areas to provide support and insight. So HR generalist understands and performs most of the above areas and can provide advice and support in most of them. So also, let me also say that generally speaking, senior HR people also tend at the end of the day to become HR generalists of some sort. They might have gone through their career, maybe through the specialist route, but by the time they are the head of department, maybe you are head of department, human resources, you are chief people officer, chief culture officer, over time, you will be relatively very grounded in almost everything, because even if you have specialists who work with you, because they report to you and you are reviewing their work, you are providing counsel, you will develop. Okay, so on a good day, quite a number of people start their HR career from the generalist perspective. Quite a number of HR people, okay, start their career from a generalist perspective. Some start from specialist. Again, where should you start from? I typically tell you which opportunities are available for you. Now, let's assume you want to be a specialist, but the first opportunity you get is a generalist role. Don't say you won't take it just because you are looking for an HR specialist opportunity. Start with what you have. Now, if the specialist opportunity now comes forth later and you feel so impressed that you want to be a specialist, then you can transition to that generalist and specialist role. Similarly, if you want to be a generalist and the opportunity at your disposal is a specialist one, don't say, oh no, I'm searching for generalist, because either way, whether you're a generalist or a specialist, over time, you need to deepen your what do you call it now? You need to deepen your competencies and your knowledge. Okay, I'm trying to raise my voice as much as I can from my side. Please, if you can hear me, let me know. Can anyone hear me? If you can hear me, let me know. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We make progress. All right. So, what is your career goal? How do you either adopt and embrace HR as a career goal, or how do you transition to it? I need to say this very quickly, okay? Sometimes I get a feeling that some people think HR is easy. I also realize that to some extent, HR has a low entry barrier. So it's almost, HR is one of those professions that almost without any qualification or certification, and by that I mean specialized certification. In other words, you could probably have studied any degree or any HND, okay, and you will enter HR, depending on the organization, especially at entry level. But you need to think deep to be sure you are making the right decision. Ask yourself questions to clarify what you are looking for in a new career on HR. You need to clarify it. Sometimes because HR is available to you doesn't mean you should take it. Or it doesn't mean you should take it for the long term. So you need to ask yourself pertinent questions. Do like soul searching. Why do you think HR is a good career path? And please, at this level, don't tell me because you like people. I can tell you 100 career lines that you need to like people. If you like people, go and become a comedian. What is as important as making people laugh and happy? If you like people, go and become a doctor. What's as important as saving lives? If you like people, go and become a sociologist. So while liking people is not a bad idea, that cannot be the primary reason why you are in HR. Also, what kind of company do you want to work for? An SME, a multinational, a government agency, which arm of government, okay, NGO, faith-based organization, all right? there are different industries, and sometimes HR may be slightly peculiar as you consider one industry to the other. And the severity of the capacity required in terms of either depth may also vary from industry to industry. All right. So be sure that this career move to HR is worth it. Why am I stressing this? Some people are, in quotes, fortunate or lucky. Almost immediately they leave school, they enter HR. Some, maybe they are adults who have been working for 10 years, 15 years. When they say, oh, I want to switch to HR, 1 month, 2 months, they switch. It does not always happen for people that way. Let me give an example. I have a friend today who studied in, what's this course now? Industrial and Personnel Relations from a very good university in Nigeria. This is the person's 8th year, and she's still not in HR. She has been working, but doing either PA, those kind of jobs. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but she's doing all these other jobs as an interim job. Not that that is what she desires. Now, what should prepare you for HR more than studying industrial and personnel relations? That's technically human resource management. However, if you are not convinced that you really want to do HR, you may not be able to exhibit the required resilience, perseverance, especially when it doesn't come to you quickly. Okay, we've discussed this. What aspect of HR are you interested in pursuing? You need to also get that, because even when you go for generalist interviews, and I'm sure people on this call can testify, I've been asked many times, after maybe they've tested me around different domains, they will now come to a point they will say, what is your core? Or what are the top 2 areas? And then maybe when you mention it, they may now even want to be more elaborate and in-depth. Now, let me also say this. Do you know, and are you prepared for both the pros and cons of the HR profession? I was telling somebody today earlier that, for example, why do quite a number of parents want their children to do medicine? It is prestigious. It is glamorous. Relatively speaking, if you study medicine, chances that even you may not be super rich, but you will not be poor. In quotes, you will be comfortable. But do you know the pain doctors go through, especially surgeons? Do you know how you sometimes may not almost have a life of your own? You may be at a party and your phone will ring, and you need to abandon the party and run to the hospital for an emergency. Now, no matter the good side of HR, there are also pain points there. Do you know what it means when almost any time when an organization fails or something doesn't work in the organization, it is almost always HR's fault? Meanwhile, on the flip side, when things work, they may not remember that it is HR's contribution and input. Do you have a thick skin? Do you know what it means to have to lay people off? Do you have a thick skin? Do you know what it means when you have to be with your staff at the hospital, when you have to be with the family during bereavement? HR is not only glitz and glamour. Think about the best and think about the worst. Do you have the gravitas for both spectrum? Someone was telling me just yesterday somewhere how some people like to sign promotion letters, they like to sign employment letters, but they decline when it is time to sign dismissal letter. You must have bandwidth for both ends of the spectrum. Now, let's go to the meat of today's session. How to provide that background so that we are prepared, so that we have understanding as we move into steps to transitioning into human resources management. Now, let me say up front that the steps are not by any means exhaustive, and there will be more steps. So if you have steps that can help people, please drop it in the chat box. Either steps that have worked for you personally in your HR career or that has worked for people that you know. Please be kind enough, drop it in the chat box. Hopefully, time permitting, I will also allow people indicate by show of hands to also share strategies with us. So I don't want to claim that I know all these steps. Okay, all right. Again, first and foremost, begin by keeping an open mind and be flexible to this change of career. There's somebody I know who wanted HR badly. Guess what? The first opportunity he got in HR. He got, there was a vacancy for executive assistant for the head of HR. Guess what? This guy didn't want to be a PA, but he just thought about it. That if I'm the PA or EA, executive assistant to the head of HR, what will I be assisting the head of HR to do? It's principally HR matters. That was how that guy got in. Did you catch that story? Be open-minded and be flexible. Okay, there's an adage in Yoruba that says "Onokon waja." In other words, there are multiple routes that enter into the market. There are conventional routes, there are unconventional routes. Okay, you should be a graduate. It doesn't have to be a university, it can be polytechnic. Most human resources role, especially in Nigeria, require you to either have BSc or HND. I strongly advise, this is not compulsory, but I strongly advise that get an HR certification. If you are in Nigeria, CIPM is a no-brainer. And for some of us that don't like local content, I don't know why. Some of us, even when we die, you prefer to be buried abroad. Okay, there are also foreign certifications. Okay, HRCI, SHRM, both in US, you have CIPD, and there are different categories of certifications. See what certification does. One, it demonstrates more than a passing interest. I always tell people that you are certified does not mean that you are very good or super good. But if you are not certified, can I trust you? Look, if I go to the hospital and they tell me that somebody is not a doctor, didn't read medicine, but has been visiting the hospital for a while, I won't entrust my medical care to that person. So if you are really sure that you want HR badly, get certified. One, the process of certification will either convince you that you're on the right track, or will tell you that, oh boy, look for an alternative. And then it will open doors, it will add value to your CV and open doors, because some other strategies I'll give you, one which is networking. These professional bodies provide natural avenues for either meetings, parties, events, trainings, and sessions where you will meet people. So it's not just in the certification itself, but the people you will meet, fellow professionals who are certified, who you can reach out and say, oh, I'm a member of which you are, and that becomes an icebreaker and conversations can start. Then, let me also say this. I know people who are certified, but apart from carrying the certification, maybe take CIPM, for example, they won't join a local chapter. We have many chapters in Lagos and in all state capitals all over Nigeria. For example, I'm a member of the Ikeja chapter. Life happens. Maybe a member loses his job. There is a way all of us will rally around to say, oh, either sharing job vacancies, pointing people in the direction of opportunities. So don't just be a member by certification. Be a member relationally. Join chapters, be committed. You see, you can't be a member of an association and you are rendering service there. You will see opportunities more. For example, take HR mentorship. You can be a member and you never contribute anything. You never chat, you don't drop anything. But we have members, not only are they members, they are also members of the socials group. We typically have hangouts every month. They come to a webinar. So there's a way people know you. There's a way they will respond when you have a need versus when they don't know you. And this is not preferential treatment. This is life. So if you're a member of SHRM, for example, do you join the chapter meetings, for example, in Lagos, in Nigeria, don't be a ghost member. Don't be a paper member so that you can extract full value from your membership. Again, do a self-audit to identify peculiar innate skills and competencies that are related to the HR field. I already showed you a barrage of competencies earlier when we started this conversation. Please, when you are sending your CV, when you are sending in your application, I know there's this temptation that you have one CV and you just forward it to every vacancy. Please, I know you also, there's this urge to spontaneously, instantaneously send your CV for consideration to vacancies. Take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, especially vacancies that have job description. Go through it. What are the skills they are asking for? What are the competencies they are asking for? If you cross-match your CV with the job description, do you have like 70, 80% match? Funny enough, there are certain things they are asking for. You can do it. You have the capability to do it. However, nothing on your CV is reflecting that you can do it. Now, some organizations use applicant tracking system, ATS software. So there's no human interference. They will just check for keywords. If they don't find it, they discard your CV. And this is not sentiment. And it's not the fault of the tracking system. You are the one that sold yourself short by not paying attention to the job description. So please review job description. And let me just say this, because I know there are also people on this call who are actually already in HR, but maybe they are looking for a promotion. Look at this JD, job descriptions of roles above you that you are trying to promote to. What are the kind of skill sets required? Do you have them? Is there a gap? Have a roadmap, 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, 2 years to bridge this gap. I remember there was one particular application I made many years back. There was a particular legislation, I think Oxford Chamberlain or something, I can't remember the exact word. It was a US legislation. They put it there that knowledge of that particular policy was critical. So my natural reflex was to say, wow, what is this? I don't even know it. Okay, don't let me apply. On the second thought, I just copied that one, put it in Google, and downloaded it on Google. Lo and behold, the entire document was less than 8 pages. 1 hour later, I had read it end to end, and I was comfortable. And some of the things in that particular policy was that, for example, if you are a US-based organization and you are operating overseas, they will expect you that your operations overseas must also comply with ethical and regulations in US. Because if not, for actions you take in another country, they can come and sue you in US. It was very easy. 1 hour later, I was very proficient. Guess what I did? I updated my CV with working knowledge of that particular. Now, if you don't, now note what I did. I just didn't put working knowledge. I downloaded it, I read it, I understood it before I did that. There are certain things they can ask you that if you spend 2 hours on YouTube, you will become conversant with it. You may not be a master, but your level of appreciation will go up. And then between when you submit your CV and hopefully when they will call you for interview, you will have further developed your competence and capabilities. Okay, I hope we are getting some value. So let me just mention here, if you have questions, you can begin to type them in the chat box. If you had typed them earlier before I went offline, you will need to type it again because I don't have access to history, except my colleagues are gracious enough to maybe read them to me sometime later. Update your resume for position in HR. Ensure it reflects your what? Professional brand. Sometimes you see some people's CV, it will just look like you almost want to be. No finesse, it's just bland, just there. You see some people's, what do you call it? Career objective. It looks like 332,000 other people's career objective. Nothing in the career objective even show HR or shows a focus and interest or passion in HR. All right. Okay, I mentioned this earlier. Be active, join professional organizations, stay informed, be visible. Okay. Then another point here, especially for younger people and not too old people, age is a number, is relative. Look out for internship opportunities within HR. It is a wonderful route to learn broadly about HR. Okay, so when you see internship, maybe 6 months internship, 3 months internship, 1 year internship, go for it. Now, let me say this. I know some people, this is an hypothetical number, maybe they are earning 200,000 naira a month. Then they get an HR job that is offering 120,000 naira, and they will turn it down. Some of them, sometimes they reach out to me and I say, if you really want to do HR and you are doing a non-HR job that is paying you 200,000 and an HR job is offering you 120, why don't you take it? Enter the game. Now, some of them, to be honest, I understand, maybe they have 2 children. They are looking at the school fees. Maybe the 200,000 they are earning is barely sufficient as of today. But sometimes you need to take a leap of faith, especially if you really are passionate about something. Yes, I've also seen people, maybe they were earning 200,000 and they got a 300,000 HR job. So I'm not saying of a necessity that you will always get lower paying HR jobs. But sometimes you may need to make certain compromise. Take a pay cut from what you don't like doing to what you like doing. That is also part of evidence. Again, consider entry-level roles. Now, this particular point now won't apply to fresh graduates, because a fresh graduate, what else would you be looking for? It's a no-brainer, entry-level. I'm talking now to matured professionals in other fields who want to come to HR. You know, sometimes you may have attained maybe the status of a supervisor and you want to come to HR. It is not automatic that you must transit to HR on the same level. Sometimes you may need to transit to HR and take a pay cut or take a grade cut. So you may be a manager and maybe they now turn you to a supervisor. Yes, hope for the best, but there are certain compromises that you may, or sacrifices is better or not compromise, you may need to make to move to what you really want. Again, the word passion means capacity to suffer for. The word passion means capacity to endure, long suffering, if you truly and really want. Let me quickly tell a bit of my story at this intersection. When I wanted to enter HR, I identified a particular HR industry leader. Fortunately, he just moved from employment. He had worked in major organizations like Procter & Gamble, Virgin Nigeria, and so on. And then he set up his own firm, an HR consulting firm. The day I went to see him, I was fortunate, met the receptionist and got orders. And I explained that I'm here to volunteer my services for free. God sees my heart. I came for free. The guy looked at me and said, where do I live? I told him, he said, won't you enter transport? I said, sir, even if it is for 6 months, let me work for free. Hopefully, I will now be able to gather experience to be able to secure a job where they can pay me for my services. He now said, well, he loved my confidence. He would have loved to give me a job, but there is a constraint. I said, sir, what's the constraint? He said, there is no computer for me to use. I said, is that all? I said, sir, I have a desktop. Of course, and I had a desktop. Not those big CPU, monitor, keypad. The next day, we took Ghana Must Go. I came with my system to the office and I set it up. Guess what? After 1 month, they paid me. They called it allowance. So all my time there, they paid me. And from there, I moved to something better in terms of pay. Okay? So that's my own story. I started this HR by going somewhere to sincerely volunteer for free. Now, if your condition cannot support free, I'm not saying you should do it. Nobody told me to do it. So I didn't do it because I was trying to copy other people. But I just wanted to explain and show to you how passionate I was. And if you care to know, look at me today. I'm not doing badly. Of course, there's room for improvement. Okay, build your network, look for industry leader, and follow them on LinkedIn and other social networks. Network with them. Now, for example, let me, my brother, my friend, it's also my mentor, even though sometimes he laughs when I call him my mentor, and he knows he's my mentor. The only area I mentor YF is in IT. I mentor him in IT. Every other thing is my ego. You know, when people like that and you follow them, when they maybe drop, what do you call it, articles, messages on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, engage with them. People like LG, Leslie George, engage with them, share thoughts. I've seen people who, due to the way they consistently drop thoughts and comments, reasonable one, no, don't drop any out thought. Other people have given them opportunities. Network. You don't know how doors will open for you. Okay, engage. Don't be, you see, when you're looking for a job, that's not the time to say I am shy. Like someone will say, why shall I shy? A Yoruba proverb says that inability to talk is the beginning of poverty. I know you may be shy by nature, but please try a little to be a little open. At least you get the job. Okay? So when you go for meetings, don't sit at your table and corner. Move from table to table, greet people, be warm, be friendly, greet people. I've seen people take the last hangout we did. Like 2 or 3 people got jobs in that hangout. What if they came to the hangout and they put their own airphone on their head, they just focused on their rice and chicken and just went home? Imagine people came to hang out to party and by 1 month later, they had resumed. I know 2 people. So relate. Look for short-term opportunities you can use for exposure. Opportunities, you know, maybe somebody is going on maternity. So this also goes to people who are already working. If there's HR where you work, they may not have a vacancy, but go and be meeting the HR person. How can I help you? Put me on committee, on projects. It can be, maybe you close at 5, rather than go home at 5. Maybe the HR person is still at work. Go and meet him, spend 1 hour. If you are spending 1 hour with him every day for 2-3 months, you will be shocked at how you will grow in insights, competence, and capabilities. Even if the HR door does not open for you in that particular organization, it will bolster your confidence when you apply for that organization. And maybe you are lucky somebody is going on maternity or something. Say you will handle that person's job in addition to your own. All right? Okay. I mentioned this. Get involved in HR projects. Use this opportunity to learn about HR management. Okay, let me also say this. Some of the things I'm saying, I agree, it's not easy, but do you really want it? If you don't want it, you won't be on this call. It's almost 9 p.m. on a working day, and we're still going to work tomorrow. Be willing to offer free services on your weekend or off time. Attach yourself to maybe an established HR professional so that you can build your HR portfolio. Let me tell you something. There's no senior HR person I know that is not overwhelmed with work. If I call YF now or LG to say, is there anything I can do for you? They will be happy. There will be things I can do for them. They can share with me. Now, if you are not ready to work, don't ask for that kind of assignment. Because if you ask for one assignment, for example, and they give you and you mess it up, you know you have demarketed yourself because you now have first-hand experience that you are not good or you are not reliable. This will not work if you are not diligent, hardworking, and you can commit. Look for people already in the industry you can provide service. You see, it's one thing to call a mentor and say, mentor, please recommend me. But think about it. If you have been volunteering your time and service with the mentor, when opportunities come, you won't need to beg the mentor to recommend you. On my desktop, as I speak, when I say desktop, I mean the desktop of my laptop. I'm no longer using the desktop. The desktop of my laptop. I have some CVs, junior HR, some CVs, senior HR. Anytime people reach me for vacancies, some people, there was still one today, even though that one I decided to open it up to everyone. I just pick the relevant one and I say, why do I have the confidence to send these people? I'm not sending their CV just because I like them. I send their CV because I know that they won't fall my hand. I know they will not embarrass me because we've worked together maybe on one project or the other, and I've seen their capability to deliver. Some of these people is on volunteer, maybe both of us are volunteering somewhere, and we saw how we can work. I'm also on some people's pastor like that. And one or two opportunities I've gotten in the past, I've gotten it from things I was doing for free. For example, maybe at church setting or those kind of things. So anywhere you are, as long as you are there, do it well. You see, there is always somebody watching you, whether junior to you, at par with you, or your senior, who has the capacity to recommend you for an opportunity. So please don't do eye service. You know, we had a webinar about 2 months ago, HR mentorship here. The facilitator told us at that webinar that it was the driver of the chairman that mentioned his name to the chairman to be considered for MD. Now, of course, you know, for you to be considered for MD means you are already in that radar. But imagine for a driver to say, please give so and so a chance. So it's not only senior people that can recommend you. It can be people at par, can be people at your who are juniors. So please, anything we are doing anywhere, once if you are not going to do it well, please don't do it, whether for free or for a fee. All right, this is very, very important. Then you need to focus on learning. You see, and I'm saying this respectfully. There are some people, for example, when we do any webinar, of course, you cannot attend all the webinars. It's not practical. Even me, I've had to miss 1 or 2 webinars. You understand what I mean? But they will always go back to the YouTube to listen, watch it, and follow it. Their competence has significantly improved. There is no way that you will continue to learn that you will not increase your capacity to learn. And it is not a cliche. Quote me anywhere. If you become better, you will deserve better. If you deserve better, you will attract better, either where you are or some other places. So these are some of the tips. Again, I would like to say to people on this call, drop tips here in the chat box so that others can learn. Anytime from now, I will also allow people to raise their hand and either share their thoughts or comments or their own advice, make their contribution. Again, in today's session, we are only taking questions and comments around transitioning into HR. Please don't ask any question outside this domain. And if you make the mistake of asking, we will not make the mistake of responding. Okay, all right. So typically, that's the bulk of the message I wanted to pass across. There's other areas of skills like leadership is helpful, communication is helpful. It's one thing to have content, is another thing to be able to show it. So I don't want you to be able to speak and not have content, but it's also very bad. You have content, but you cannot speak. So improve on your communication skills, improve on your writing skills, improve on your listening skills, then your branding. Packaging is important, okay? Packaging is what? Important. If you need to get professionals to review your CV, if you need to pay people to upgrade your CV for you, embrace it. Anything you can do to elevate your status, to project your image in the best way. You see, we have only one opportunity to make an impression. I was reading a statistics yesterday when I was doing a study, and they said the average recruiter takes 11 seconds to look at a CV and make a call. If they spend more than 11 seconds on your CV, chances are they will invite you for the next level. So if I see your CV, is there anything compelling or gravitating to, to make me stay longer and check further and then do this? Now, as a round up, I need to say that you have to be resilient. I wish I could tell you that when you apply for 5 jobs, they will call you. you may have to apply for 250 jobs before one will call you for interview. But while you are waiting, keep applying, keep improving your CV, keep improving your capacity, and then keep practicing, rehearsing for your interview. You don't need many interviews to succeed in life. When that interview opportunity comes, do your best. And you can do your best when you practice, when you rehearse. All right? Thank you so much. So at this intervention, I would like to throw it open. First, before questions, if there are, if I know there are senior people on this call and there are other people on this call, maybe you want to share your own story or your own experience or tips, please raise up your hand. I will recognize you so that you can go ahead and share. Also, if you have questions, you can also type in the chat box or raise your hand. I will quickly allow my colleague, Deborah Dunbury. Happy wedding anniversary. Deborah, apologize. I've not called you. I was planning to call you after this session.
Okay, good evening, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to share a little experience, and I think my experience would help everyone. So I transitioned fully early this year. And when I talk about HR now, people would not believe I fully transited early this year. Fine. I was in the HR department for a while already, and I was basically in the training department. So my company then was sectionalized in such a way that you do not have access to other areas, like you do not have access to recruitment, you do not have access to compensation and benefits. So I was just strictly on training. So what I did then was, because I wanted to dive in to other aspects of HR, I was willing to learn. So this is where what you said come to play. I was willing to learn other things. Now, my friend told me that CV has gone beyond what you have done, and you need to add in what you have learned, what you know. So it's not about what you have done. Like I have 2 years experience doing this, but what do you know in addition to that years of experience? So I learned the recruitment from my colleagues. So I, like you said, back, check them out and everything. And my first role to recruit on my own happened this year. And right now, I'm working as a recruitment specialist and that talent acquisition and recruitment and development specialist. So when I speak HR. When I do HR, and people begin to think that, oh, maybe I have 20 years experience, though I'm still improving. But my bottom line is I learned from people who knew. So willingness to learn is important. Be able to know your onion, cross your T's and dot your I's, so that when opportunities set in, you'll be able to fit in. So it's not about, please, can you recommend me? People come to say, I'm open for HR roles. How open are you? The job I'm currently on now, my CV went from someone to someone to someone, then to the company. So I didn't know the company, I didn't know anybody there, but my CV just went. Somebody said, I've submitted your CV to this person and it's going to your CV too. And I was recommended, it's like a recommendation. And when I got there, I was interviewed with other people and I passed. So say I did not pass, the person that recommended me will like be disappointed. Will she recommend me next time? No, that's true. So if I'm recommending you, have you equipped yourself? So it's not about I want to transition. Yes. How ready are you? Have you read? Put it into context. Understand what you have read and say it like you did it. That's what I did. So I said it like I did it because I was sure of the process. Take me through your recruitment process. Omo, I began to speak. Starting from year to year, what are your channels? I knew it. Not that I've done it, but I knew it. So I fixed it into that context, and it works. That is because when you speak the HR word. You speak the language of the interview, and when you speak intelligently like that, you would not fail. And that is how I fully transitioned. And now I can say I'm good at all aspects because I've done training very well, recruitment, learning and development. I've done very well. Now compensation and benefits, I've dived into it again. I've learned it. I want to do it. And if you hire me to say, speak about it, I would speak as if I have done it. But hands-on, I have not done it. So this is my own experience. Transitioning is what I did. So I transitioned because I love the area. Then Mr. Yemi talked about having the qualification. Yes, it's important because again, the world of work today is looking for qualifications. They will say CIPM, this, that. Get into it. You can even see View. From InView, I also got jobs because I put InView on my CV. And that is because I was actually doing the exams. So put your heart to it. You would definitely get through. Thank you very much for this opportunity, sir, again. I learned a lot today.
Thank you so much, Deborah. We'll take Folashade and then we'll move to Bumi. Folashade, you have the floor, please. Then we'll go to Jennifer.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Good
Folashade.
evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. And good evening, everyone. Yeah, tonight's topic is a wonderful one. And I just want to share my own experience in order to encourage those that are kind of transitioning to HR. I actually studied computer science in school, and after my service year with TSL, when I rounded off, I went home and they called me back. That's because I told the MD then that I'm available for any vacancy. And when they called me back, it was HR position. Yes, when you're trying to transition, it may not be that easy because everything will look so strange to you, because I was used to, computer language, programming and the likes. So coming into HR world, business world and the like, it was so strange to me and everything was strange. I was just like, because I was a science student, I understand all the science, chemistry, biology and the likes. So when they're talking about business, HR, recruitment, they were just so strange to me. But one thing that really helped me was determination. And immediately I joined as HR officer, I just had that mindset that I just got that conviction that this is actually what I want to do. And when I did it for like 6 months or thereabout, people were like, did you study HR or anything related to business in school? I told them no, that this is my first time. And I put my heart to it. Then another thing you need is to face a lot of sacrifice. You need to do the work, like the filing, even the front desk tax and the likes. Those were actually what helped me today. And today, when you see me even where I work, because I have the understanding of HR department from the scratch. So for some of us, even if you are able to get a certificate or wherever you have the opportunity to start as a manager, for me, I think that is not what you want. You need to start from the beginning. Like Mr. Adeyemi said, look for where you can start from the beginning so you will know it. You will know everything, including what the receptionist is doing, recruitment, entering of data, staff data, filing, and everything. So even when you get to the top, by the time someone is trying to cook some story for you, you're like, no, don't go that way. This is what I have done, and this is what you should do. That's my contribution for tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Folashade, for that insightful contribution. We'll go over to Bumi, then we take Jennifer, then Oluchi. Bumi, you have the floor, please. You have the floor. Hello, Bumi.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am.
Thank you so very much for this session. And I must say that even though I haven't met you, joining the HR mentorship group has been one of the best things that has happened to me, in my journey into human resources. So my story is, when I started, I started out as a legal practitioner. I still am. And I was into full legal practice. So, but when I started having children, I realized that it was a whole lot of stress going to court almost every day. And I really needed something. I wanted to do something else. even though I remember that immediately I left law school, I wanted to go into human resources, but for some reasons I didn't do it. I just felt, okay, let me even practice law for a while. So the idea came again, like, okay, why don't you go into human resources? Then one day at the firm where I was working, my boss just called me and said she would want to present an opportunity to me. She had another company run by herself and her husband, and she needed an HR practitioner to handle some things there. So she asked if I would be interested in that role. I immediately saw the opportunity and I took it, even though it's not like it was going to attract any extra pay. I was still doing my legal job. I was still going to court and everything. I would go to court very early, come back very late with all the traffic and everything. And then I would have to start attending, doing the HR duties for the other company while still doing, my outstanding jobs for, my legal practice, maybe preparing court processes and all that. I was doing all of that. And I did that for about a year. So I had to go on maternity leave again. In the process of doing that, I decided to apply for a master's degree in that line. And I did that. I'm still doing that currently. So when you were talking about taking opportunities, even if it might not attract pay or much pay, I remembered my own self. I took the opportunity and it was an eye-opener. It made me understand. It gave me, the opportunity to see that this is something that I would love to do. So even after I finished the maternity leave, I decided I wasn't going back to work and that I would concentrate on preparing myself to be an HR practitioner. So I started doing online diplomas while I was at home. I started taking online courses, reading and studying and all that. And I started trying to connect with, people in HR around me. A lot of people advised me, take internship roles, blah, 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 and all that. I started applying for internship roles, even with my age and with 6 years of legal practice. I started applying for internship roles. I started applying for voluntary roles. Even don't pay me, let me just come and learn. I don't mind, let me just do 6 months, whatever. Let me just, because I felt where I was before, I was the first HR. And it's not like I really knew what I was doing. So I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn under somebody who has been there before, who has been there for a while. So that's why, I wanted to just get in anywhere where I can work under a team and learn. So I was doing that until eventually I didn't get any of those roles I was applying for. I actually got a job as, HR officer, and I've been doing it. And just about the time when I got the job, I got into this group. And each time I have any issues or any problems that I can't solve, I reach out to somebody immediately on the group. There are a few people who have been of help to me, and that has really helped my journey. That's why I said joining this group has been one of the best things to happen to me in my career. So I want to thank you so much for the opportunity. I don't think I've really said thank you to you before, whether on the group. Thank you so very much. And I hope that when I see you eventually, I'll still get to learn more from you. And it will just be a one-sided or parasitic relationship. I hope that I would have, some knowledge too that I can pass across. I don't know, but I hope so too. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your contributions. Thank you so much. We go on to Oluchi. Then from Oluchi, we'll go on to Rita. Oluchi, you have the floor, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
My network was disturbed, so I don't know what I missed from the beginning. I want to first of all say thank you to Mr. Deoshun. I learned something today before I go to my story about the legislation, the US legislation. So I'm taking something out from it and I'm going to start working on it immediately. Thank you so much for that. So we learn every day. There's no wasted opportunity. So I don't know how the part I missed, but first, if you want to transition to, my contribution is if you want to transition to HR, you should ask yourself, why do you want to go to HR? I've heard somebody say, HR, there are people that make the policy. They know when they're doing salary review. They know when everything is going on. I want to get there so I can influence my own. If that's your reason, that is not the right place for you to be. Because you're going to be everything. They will call you in the middle of the night that somebody is sick and you have to call HMO. And sometimes you will need to go out on your own. I had a recent, I've heard people say it, but I didn't make any meaning to me until when I had to really participate in it. Just came back from work, they called me, somebody called me in the hospital, the doctors were not attending.
Hello, Oluchi, are you still there? I suspect Oluchi's network is misbehaving. Can anyone else hear Oluchi? Hello? Okay, let's go
to
on
him. I had to leave my house till 11 p.m. and I called his HR.
I think Oluchi's network has taken her out. Hopefully she'll be able to return. Rita, you have the floor, ma'am.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Mr. Wally. Yeah, I just wanted to add one or two things to what you had just said. I also use this opportunity to learn from you, to learn from everybody. It's always interactive. It's always good to listen to anything HR. So thank you for the platform that you have provided. So on a quick note, when you said something about the maternity, this is actually a real story. Sometime ago in 2014, I was heading the human resources and business development of an oil and gas. And then a lady reached out. She just finished from University of Bradford. And then was the days like when people were really traveling out of Nigeria to read and then come back to Nigeria to come and practice and things like that. And then there she went to University of Bradford. By the time she came in back to Nigeria, it was difficult for her to get any job. So the head of HR brought her to me and was like, oh, she needed to intern. By the time I looked at her resume, I was like, she had worked in, I think, one of this firm. I'm trying to, it was, I think, I can't remember, something Benjamin or Vital from then. She had worked in the HR department for 1.5 years before she went to UK. With UK doing, you're allowed to work for a certain period of hours. So she did list of HR interns. So when she got back to Nigeria, she was like, she wanted to intern and then paid and was like, no, because we already had 2 people in HR and 1 NYC corper. Coincidentally, a year later, 2 of the HR personnel got pregnant at the same time. So it was like, wow, did they plan this? And it was like a coup. So we needed to get somebody with a bit of experience. And then one of the HR employees just said, oh, this lady GBK had called last year. This is it. That ladies kept on coming. That should we give the person a chance? I asked them to call back the lady. And I was like, okay, come and intern. I don't have any money right now. We're really tight on salaries, that there was no expenses. And she said she didn't mind, that she was going to work. Okay, so maternity periods is usually by 3 months, 4 months. I said, okay, in order for the maternity women to be more stable at work when they resume, the 1 hour they close early, resume, and I said, okay, 2 more months, so making it 6 months. So I told her that, okay, she won't get paid. But where was she staying? I asked her, and I said, okay, maybe I'll give you a salary. I'll give you a transport allowance for that period. But do you know, just like you said, there is no, and I always tell people that want to transition, there is no one that is so hard at and that when you get into the organization, you tell them you don't want to pay. If it's a human being that is humane, 99.9%, they'll pay you something. Use that as a bait to get in. When you use that as a bait to get in, you just tell them you don't want to be, to be paid.
once you enter the company, do all your best to be useful. Do all you can to work harder than any other person. This lady is a practical example. Honestly, I will introduce her to Mr. Wale, so just for us to realize this. And then she came in, two people were on maternity, worked, I don't want to use the word what I wanted to, but she really worked hard. So when it was time for them to resume, the two people back, and it was like, oh, we had just completed the tank farm. And we said, oh, okay, we needed somebody to be at the depot. That's at Satellite Town. We were operating from Surulere. We needed to do a roster. We said, okay, for her to also learn, let us do a rota system. And then that was how she came in. Believe you me, when she resumed the first month, I paid her 35. And that was in 2014, 2015. You can imagine, because I just saw that for University of Bradford. But the third month, I increased it to 50K. Before the sixth month, I had increased it again. But what I want to throw out of this is, be ready, be open-minded for a pay cut. It's not in all cases you have the luck or a stroke of luck that will say, oh, you are working in somewhere and they are paying you 250, 300. That is what you want to use to transition in. Then the other one is, when you have the opportunity to come in there, don't be like the other employees and complain about jobs too hard. The one thing that distinguishes you is just the hard work. People work hard, people work smart. So if you just work hard and you're not working smartly, you're just wasting your time. Make yourself so useful, so relevant that they'll begin to wonder that how did they do without you in the first place? So that is how you can get it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. By the way, I referred the client to you today. I hope the person has contacted you. His name is Shegun Badmus. I referred him to you today. All right, so we go to Jennifer. I suspect Jennifer has spoken earlier, right? Or did you raise your hand?
No, I haven't.
Okay, go ahead, Jennifer. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. My name is Jennifer Lamaidoma, and it's awesome to be here. I've not been on this group for more than a month, and it's been very interesting to be a part of this, I must say. My transition to HR started about well over a year ago. The first company I worked with was a HR training firm, and the goal for me being there was more of obtaining my HR certification, which is what like you have shared. I understand that when you're transitioning to HR, it's important for you to have. But while I was there, I was employed as the HR person to man the training company. Very small unit, but there was just so much that I did not realize I was capable of until I joined the company. And so within that period, I did a whole lot. I worked as a HR person. I worked within the telesales department. I also worked as the operations person and admin, of course. And it brought out so much inside me I did not realize I was capable of. And for me, it was a great experience. It stretched me, I would say. It stretched me more than I thought I was able to contain. But the good thing about it is the fact that I was coming from a customer care background. And so it wasn't difficult for me to transition to HR because I already made up my mind that HR is where I wanted to be. But like you also mentioned during this webinar and everything you have shared in your slide, I can identify with it 100%. Being in touch with likes of TDA and YF, it also helped me understand better what being a HR professional is. Now I can truly say that as much as I have still learning process, I had to take a break after a year plus working in the HR training firm because I'm preparing for my exams now to take in a few weeks. And I'm also doing another program, which is also HR related. But the thing is, I have also discovered that I can work in other parts of HR that I did not realize I could. And that is very important. And so, like I mentioned, volunteering yourself and starting up your career, it's important that you are able to identify what it is you are capable of, being able to stretch yourself beyond your limits. Very, very important. I didn't think I was capable of all I did. I was one more like training coordinator for different training programs we had. And in as much as I was doing that, I also had the opportunity to interface with clients. So I also worked partly like a HR business partner. And now I know today, I understand myself better that I am capable of being that larger scale. And so it's a lesson for all those who have not started their HR career, or they are yet to transit into HR, or they are joining this webinar to understand what it means to transition into HR. That is important, that you know yourself, know who you are, know what you're capable of doing, be willing to expand yourself beyond what it is you're even capable of doing. That way, you would be open to several opportunities beyond what it is you think or you know you can do. And that way, when the learning, the opportunity for you to learn keeps coming, you will embrace it wholeheartedly at every level. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Jennifer. Very insightful session. We will go back to Oluchi, and that will be the final comments. We'll take one or two questions, if any. One or two questions, if any. Oluchi, your final attempt.
Sorry, my network went off. Okay, so I was saying that you have to ask yourself, why do you want to be in HR? If it's to come and influence your salary increase and influence your career growth for your own selfish reasons, it won't work, because you will not be able to cope with the workload. The work required is a whole lot to go with it. And we've had so many of our contributors have told us about learning and training and all that, making sacrifices. I joined when Mr. Adeosun was talking about industrial relations. If you are in a unionized environment and you are handling that portfolio, you will have to spend your own personal money to make the work easier for you. Yes, the organization will give you money to sort out the union issues, but you will have to develop your own personal relationship with the union leaders outside the organization so that you can engage them without management's notice. You can call them on the phone and say, your people are giving me issues. And the union leaders themselves will tell you what to do. But when they come for the meeting, they will show that they are union. They will be aggressive and all that, but you've met them outside. You will have to spend your own personal money to form your own relationship with them outside your organization and the management. It's a given. If you're handling union and you want to go official, you will have a very difficult time. They will make your work horrible. And once there's a union issue, management will come on you that you're not managing the union very well. So please note that if you're in a unionized environment, then you have to make personal sacrifices. Like I'll share a little experience from mine. I was moved to a marine business and I didn't know jack about marine. Marine is very, very unique. I had to join marine professional bodies to interact with mariners, get to know what they are all about. And also it helped me in my recruitment process. Organizations, you need to do all those sacrifices for yourself so that you can grow in your career. Then you also receive some no's. When you receive the no's, just know is next opportunity. It's not the end of the world. So you move on to the next thing. Then after every interview, ensure to run through the process objectively, like you sit, like a recollection, let me call it for lack of words, recollection. How did this go? Objectively, look at it from the third eye, like an external person. When they asked me this question, how did I respond? Check it in your head. Then if you're not getting that feeling, like objective feedback on your own, get somebody, maybe a trusted friend, a mentor, or a colleague that you trust that will not go and tell management that you're looking for a job, and say, okay, this was how my interview went. This is the question they asked me. This is how I responded. I have that with some of my friends, and we do that a lot, and it has helped. Like they criticize and tell you point blank, you failed here, you know. You need to do that. So it helps you do better in your next interview. And our mentorship group has also helped us, is helping us. And please let others know about this group and what's the benefits you're gaining from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Oluchi, for your contribution. All right, I guess we may need to call it quits here. Thank you so much. I'll do one more thing here, but just before I do that, I would like to say thank you to everyone who has joined. Thank you so much. God bless you.